How to have fun, anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to ChumbaCasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
This show is sponsored by Den 10 Insurance Services, helping businesses get the right insurance for all their insurance needs. Visit den10.io to get a quote. DENTEN.io. And remember, when you buy an insurance policy from Den 10, you're giving back on a global scale. Hello, all my entrepreneurs and business leaders, and welcome to the Michael Esposito Show, where I interview titans of industry in order to inform, educate, and inspire you to be great. Where I interview titans of industry in order to inform, educate, and inspire you to be great. My guest today returned to the financial services industry in 2009 after losing her parents and becoming the trustee of their estate. After hands-on estate management, she developed a passion for helping others during difficult times of transition. She found that working with the whole family is critical. She has mastered tax and investment management and can explain even the most complicated situation in an understandable, relatable way. When she's not speaking at a seminar or meeting with clients, she can be found on the ice skating rink as an adult figure skater. In 2013, she took to the ice for the first time and has since competed at Theater on Ice Nationals and National Showcase, as well as many local competition and holiday shows. She also volunteers her time as a USFSA appointed music coordinator and announcer. And she is always available for playtime with her granddaughter and godsons. Please welcome President and COO of Slayton Wealth Management, Susan Miller. Welcome.
Hey, hi.
All right, before I forget, because I know I'm going to forget, did you ever watch The Cutting Edge?
Oh, yes. Yes.
And my sister would be remiss if I didn't say, toe pick.
Toe pick. Yep. Those toe picks are dangerous. They sneak up when you are least expecting them.
Okay, so we're going to get into the wealth management piece of it all, and of course the emotional side of it all with your parents and all that. But while we're on this toe pick conversation, what made you decide to get into figure skating as an adult? It hurts.
Yes. Well, interesting. It ends up kind of being another sad story.
Okay.
I lost my husband in 2013.
Mm.
And as a new widow and a young widow, I was looking around for a new hobby because all of our hobbies had been, our hobbies.
Mm.
And it was really hard trying to figure out, what to do that didn't bring up all the old memories and looking for something new. And friends of ours, their kids were skating in a skating competition. I got invited to go see them at their skating competition. And I'm at the rink and going, oh, it would be maybe kind of fun to skate with the kids one day. And I turn around and there's on the bulletin board saying adult figure skating lessons. And I thought, well, it would probably be a good idea to take some lessons because you know how kids are. They come running up to you, Aunt Susie, and falling on your friends' kids or smushing them would not go over very well. So I thought I should learn what I'm doing. And so I signed up and went for my first lesson, and the coach there said, "Oh, you're catching on. Did you know that there are adult figure skating competitions and that there's theater on ice?" And I'm like, "Oh, this sounds like maybe something that would fit into my background and give me a whole new world to explore." And it actually ended up doing that because there is a whole adult figure skating community out there of people who maybe skated as kids and are still skating, but a lot of people coming to it as adults, learning to skate for the first time in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even 70-year-olds that are taking to the ice for the first time. Not saying it's common, but it's out there. And it's you can't take shortcuts in skating. You can't move ahead until you learn the foundations. And you have to practice the foundations to get better. And that kind of became, that goes back to life and everything. You can't just jump ahead and expect to have $1 million when you're going to retire if you don't take the steps to get there.
Yeah, I like that you bring that up and kind of relate the two. You mentioned, obviously, it is heavier to speak about figure skating than one would have imagined, myself included in that one there. So your husband, I want to just kind of acknowledge, obviously, his impact and your partnership for the time he was around. Could you share a little bit about him and then how you were able to, and I think we're going to speak about this with your parents too, and you just mentioned it with figure skating, in that how you were able to move on from this traumatic situation, not move on entirely of forgetting, but move on in the sense of, when we're everybody listening right now is dealing with something, and they want to know, how do I get past this difficult situation? And it might not be as traumatic, and we hope for them that it's not as traumatic as losing a loved one like your spouse. But if there's any light at the end, silver lining to it all, can you share with them a little bit, of course, acknowledging him and a little bit on how you were able to continue?
Yeah. So he and I, for over 20 years, did the Renaissance Pleasure Fair. And we had booths at the fair, and he was an actor and built props and special effects, and that was his industry. And over the years, we just had met so many people that had worked with us at the Renaissance Fair. And he always, and we together always had these people that would come and volunteer to work with us. And we made them family. So when I lost him, we had been together for over 30 years. But when I lost him, over 200 people showed up at my house that were family. And, he's been gone now 11 years. And I still have those friends and family coming, that we still talk about him. They still say, "Oh, remember when Steve did this or Steve did that?" And he isn't gone. And that's, I guess, what keeps it from being overwhelming. Because it's not a goodbye. It's not packed up and put away forever. It's an ongoing story. And, he used to, he built different things, and he built swords, little wood swords. And my godsons got them for their first birthday. So though even these 1-year-olds that never met, even these 3 and 5-year-old who's never met him still know who Uncle Steve is, that Uncle Steve's a pirate and he's somebody that would have been, that's fun. And they hear the stories.
What I hear there is the importance of community, and how important it is to be a part of a community as entrepreneurs and business leaders. We think about so many different communities that we can be a part of chambers of commerces and business associations, Toastmasters, and the list goes on. And in yours, the figure skating community and the acting community and the theater community. And I think with what you're sharing here in that, it could be something where we lose a loved one. It could be something where our business fails. It could be there's a number of traumas or difficulties or challenges that you might be experiencing. But when you have a community that you could lean on and that can also come in and support you, it makes it a little bit easier.
Yeah. And I was kind of brought up like, you don't ask for help. But, the friends showed up at my house and said, no, we're doing this, that we're going to take care of whatever needs to be taken care of. Mm-hmm. And it took me a while to learn to ask for help. And that allowed me to, take over this business. Become a financial advisor, have my own practice. I had to finally reach out and ask for help because I don't know everything, and that's okay. But, especially women are expected to, know everything. Mom, where are my shoes? Where's my folder? What do I have to do today? And the Ginger Rogers used to have to, do everything Fred Astaire did backwards and in high heels. And it's always a challenge. We're expected to know everything, have the answers, and look good doing it.
So everything you said about the house, my wife does know where the folder is and where their sneakers are. Just so you, just so we're aware here, is that yes, that is totally true. I do want to let's talk about the word expect and expectations because that's a big one. That's the one that I think causes the overwhelm, the stress, the judgment, the fear, the anxiety that so many of us feel is the expectations. And you're really addressing it, obviously, from the gender point of view, but I believe that it can be addressed in many point of views. But I'd love if you could expand on expectations and the feelings that they drum up and how maybe we can move past some of these expectations in order to truly live as ourselves.
That's deep.
I get deep, man.
That's tough. Gosh. Well, first of all, take everything with sense of humor. Everything is funny. I'm sorry. The people don't think it's funny. It's funny. That if you take yourself so seriously, then you're going to be miserable. And there's no reason to. Because, we're here now and our grandparents were here before us and their parents and their parents and their parents, and they all survived. Whatever happened to them, everything that could have happened to them, which was probably 1,000,000 times worse than anything that could happen to us now. They all survived and we are here because of them. So I don't expect to disappoint them, and I expect to move forward.
Yeah. And I think, in terms of that question too, I think that when we remove expectations and as you're nodding along with me here for our audio listeners, as we remove expectations, life becomes a little more fun and we can start really going into the things that we want to do. My parents expected me to go to college. They expected me to get a job. They expected me to do these things. And when I started looking at my life and going, here's what I want to do. I mean, I did go to college, but here's what I want to do and start, unraveling all those expectations. We start being able to live in our true selves and what we want to live in. The other thing you mentioned is humor. I love this. in that laugh at everything. I think that there is certainly a respectfulness to different things and to different people's opinions and feelings on things, and to be respectful to it and not disrespectful. But humor is a great way. And I mean, we're going to speak about your parents too in this, because they're part of your journey. It's a great way to move past things, is to think of the stories of Stephen and to laugh about those stories, to relive those moments and to laugh at them and to tease him even when he's not around. And just to kind of like share in the vulnerability here, I lost my cousin. I was 19, he was 18 years old, and we were like brothers. And whether I'm speaking with family members about him or friends about him or whatever it is, I'm always keeping his memory alive. And I laugh at the dumb things we did together, because we did a lot of dumb things together. He died before we got smart. So you can only imagine.
Yes.
And, you're so right. Like, keeping their memory alive. And when I see friends or family that knew him, we talk about him. We talk about those stories. We relive those stories. And just to kind of like come out of there for a moment and go back to humor and laughing at ourselves.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to chumbacasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa Welcome Bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
I think when we go into expectations and we expect so much of ourselves, of course we're going to be met with overwhelm and pain and anxiety. But if we could remove that expectation and kind of just laugh at ourselves and just go, you know what? That was so dumb. Why did I do that? And just kind of be silly about it. What's ironic about this conversation that we're kind of like unfolding here is, for everyone listening, before we came on the air, I said, Susan, did you ever listen to my podcast? She said, no. And I said, oh, great. It's about football. And you laughed and you said, no problem.
Okay,
let's do
we'll
it.
talk about football. Let's talk about football.
Right. And I love it, because it's like you in that moment that you didn't know me from anywhere and I didn't know you from anywhere, for some reason, because I don't think I've ever done that where I joked with a guest about what my show's about. For some reason, I had this feeling that I could joke with you. And you joked back with me. And I mean, you weren't even joking. I think you were like 100% serious of like, all right, let's get into this. By the way, I don't know anything about football.
It's if you don't open yourself up for every possibility, then how much do you miss out on?
I love that. Yeah. You really do. You miss out on so much by not opening yourself up to so many different possibilities. So back to opening yourself to these possibilities and dealing with the stress and the overwhelm and the challenging. You mentioned community and leaning on people, and then the other thing you took on was a new sport. You took on figure skating and something to distract. I think sometimes we look at distraction as a bad thing, but distraction could be also a good thing, to move on from things, to find something new. And for you, it's been an outlet for you that you're even able to tie back to this financial piece.
Yeah. Well, my best friend, when I first started, I'd been doing it for about 6 months or so. And she kind of like sat me down. It's like, Susan, I'm really worried about you. You seem to just be all into this figure skating stuff. And, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And then she came and watched me skate. And afterwards, she goes, I'm so sorry I said that. I can see the joy on your face when you're skating. I see now what you're talking about. But she thought I was like trying to hide or bury my feelings, and didn't realize it was a new joy. Yeah.
Yeah. And you find that. And so you said this is what kind of sparked where you started getting into the financial planning.
Well, yeah, that actually had happened. I'd started a little bit before this.
Right.
This probably added to it. Yeah. So about 5 years before I lost my husband, my dad was diagnosed with cancer. And my mom was out of town at the time. So I ended up going with him to those first couple of appointments. and trying to figure out what's going on, and, everything's, what treatments, what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad had the same sense of humor as me. So we would sit at these doctor's appointments, or he would tease the nurses. It was, we made cancer fun.
Mm.
It's like, you can't not have it. I mean, you wish you didn't have it, and you wish you weren't doing all of these treatments. But if we're going to do it, we're going to figure out how to have the most fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
And he went through treatments and, did pretty well for a year, but then it came back, and, we lost him. And my mom then unexpectedly really died 3 months later from a heart attack. And basically the doctor said it was broken heart syndrome, which I didn't know until then existed. And at that time, I ended up managing their trust and getting back into the financial service industry. I'd been in it years before. And I remember sitting up in the middle of the night on Google, mom's gone, now what? Dad's gone, now what? What do I do? How do I take care of all the things that, what needs to be taken care of? There's, assets that need to be moved. There's tax returns that need to be filed. All of these things that need to happen, and I had to learn how to do them. And you can do them wrong. And in doing so, I learned a lot, the right way to do things and the wrong way to do them. And then I was done. I don't ever, I won't ever have to manage my parents' trust again. But I knew all these other people were out there that have no guidance, and they don't know what to do. And so for the last several years have been helping, especially, we do financial planning, complete financial planning, comprehensive financial planning, and taxes. But what I really am passionate about is helping the people with, their family situation. We have a lawyer that works out of our office here. So she and I have partnered up and really are able to help people with the whole package of creating their trust and, estate documents, tax optimizing that. Because sometimes you can go and get a trust anywhere, but it doesn't mean it's been done right or the best way to save in taxes. And then we help people, giving them guidance of how to manage maybe mom or dad's affairs. And then when mom and dad are gone, we have to file special tax returns for that, the, trust tax returns. And then help people move on to set up their estate the way they want it for their kids.
When all of this kind of happened, what were the resources that you had? They were minimal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You remember how I was saying we don't like to ask for help and we
Right.
think we have to do it all on our own?
Right.
That's where I started.
And so you were just trying to figure it all out on your own
Yeah.
the whole time.
Yeah. I was trying to figure it out. And then I eventually did get some help. But it was, I didn't get help as soon as I should have gotten help.
As soon as you should have. And, some of the things that you mentioned in there, I'd like if we can just kind of understand a little bit better. Could you share with us what a trust is?
Oh, okay. So a trust is a legal document that allows a person to set their assets up in a revocable, in our case, usually revocable trust, so that when they pass away, their assets are distributed according to the trust document and do not have to go through probate. The other thing is the assets inside the trust can be managed by a separate person. So if you are not capable of handling your affairs, your child or somebody you appoint can pay your bills and take care of your finances and take care of your property for your benefit.
And so that's different than a will.
Yes. The only thing a will does is a will tells the government, the court system, who you want your assets to go to. That doesn't give them permission to do anything while you're still alive. And it's a public record, meaning the court has to probate. You have to take the will to probate court to get a judge to sign off on the will.
And what's the probate mean?
So probate is the court process to transfer assets.
Mm.
And for us in California, probate typically takes 2 to 3 years.
Looking for excitement? Chumba Casino is here. Play anytime, play anywhere. Play on the train, play at the store, play at home, play when you're bored. Play today for your chance to win and get daily bonuses when you log in. So what are you waiting for? Don't delay. Chumba Casino is free to play.
Experience social gameplay like never before. Go to Chumba Casino right now to play hundreds of games, including online slots, bingo, Slingo, and more. Live the Chumba life at ChumbaCasino.com. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
And costs upward of $50,000 or more.
So you can lose pretty much all the assets while you're trying to.
Yes, because you have to get the court's permission to do things. Where if you are the trustee, you can immediately take control of a financial asset or a home, for example.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And live in it and all the
live in it or put renters in it,
right.
To make sure there aren't
whatever it is,
the wrong kind of people. You don't want the house sitting empty.
Right, whatever it takes to keep it going.
Yeah.
So during that process is when you kind of got back into financial literacy and financial planning. Tell us a little bit about that and how you got into the business.
I came back and working doing taxes and realized that could be leveraged into financial services. I had a great mentor. His name's Cliff Slayton. He was the founder of Slayton Wealth Management, and he had been my first boss when I was 16.
Wow.
When I was 16, I told my dad that a friend said that, oh, well, you're good with math. You should go do taxes. And I told my dad that. So he went to his tax guy, Mr. Slayton's office, walked in and said, you're going to hire my daughter. And he did. And I worked for him for about 4 years doing taxes back in the 80s, late 80s. Yeah. Let's call it the 80s.
Well, you were just a kid doing them. So.
I was a kid. I was a baby. But of course, being a baby, I didn't want to just do taxes all my life. So I ended up leaving and doing other things. I did purchasing. I did sales. I did computer programming. I worked for small companies, big companies, international companies. And when my parents passed away, he was still their tax guy. And I was talking with him to transfer their assets. And that's when I got laid off from my job at that point in time. And I told him I'd gotten laid off, and he's like, well, do you want to come work for me again? And it had been 35 years, 30 years since I'd worked for him. And I said, you know what? Yeah. I was tired of working in big corporate. I was tired of being a number. I liked being able to help people directly instead of big projects that no one cared about. And I came back to work for him. And basically he was my mentor for 15 years until he finally retired 3 years ago, and I was able to purchase the practice from him.
Wow. Pretty cool how it kind of came back around from being a kid working for him and just being this young girl, just, there, clocking in, clocking out kind of thing, to where you picked up life experience, really, right? Like when you think about it, why wouldn't he hire you? So you were probably a really great employee when you were there. And then you picked up 30 years of life experience. And
it was so helpful coming back in, helping people, I finally understood, I understood what I had been doing all those years ago. And I'd had the experience, rolling over a 401k, self-directed IRAs, managing my finances, doing tax returns. My husband was a small business owner. So I'd been, small business owner and the specialties in doing those kinds of taxes. And so I had all this experience, and then got all the estate experience and the trust, and had all that experience, and started working and mentored under him, and had the opportunity to, buy him out and continue taking care of his clients. And then I was able to bring in some incredible people that work with me, and we're just able to take care of, people that we've been taking care of for, 30 years, 40 years.
Wow.
And second generation, third generation, the family.
Yeah, because you build the trust with the parents and then their kids. It's in the insurance business, it's very similar. Very similar. Something that comes up very often in professional development spaces is transferable experiences. And it sounds like you had a lot of those. Could you speak to us a little bit about some of the transferable experiences that you had from sales and big corporate, and how you were able to bring them into this business?
Well, one of the things for many years when I did the theatrical thing, and even now with figure skating, a lot of that is volunteer work. And one of the things you have to know about volunteer work is the work itself has to be a reward. Or you've got to figure out perks of the job, perks of the act, to get people to, do the work. So in then building a business that I have the opportunity to pay people to do the stuff, I'm still looking for people, and even myself. I mean, that's a challenge. I want to just do this work for free, in a sense. I wish I could just help people and not have to worry about getting paid.
Yeah.
But we have to get a little bit paid, or we can't keep the lights on, and we can't be here to take care of people. But the most important thing is to have a team and everyone working for the same goals, to have communication. I've seen both big companies where they tried to silo things and they didn't share information. This department knew that, and that department knew something else. And that always caused failures. So we don't have that. We have 100% open communication. Everyone's working for the same goal, and that's to find the least taxing way to have the most money for your lifetime and for retirement and for your legacy.
Mm. I like how you kind of use the word least taxing way. It kind of works in two ways, right? Least taxing in terms of like work and least taxing in terms of taxes.
Yes. Yeah.
It has a dual meaning. And you're 100%. I love how you really hit it with the service element. I think about it too, because I do a lot of community service, and my mentor or coach asked me recently, so where do you want to focus on? And I went, huh? She said, well, you're moving into, doing more in the community and offering more to non-for-profits. What space do you want to focus on? And I said, I never thought of it that way. And she said, well, you can't just spread yourself all over the place to every cause that comes around, because there's a lot of causes. Yeah. Which are the ones, and it's what you just said, and it really resonates with me, because she's like, which are the ones that you really get the most enjoyment from? And I'm a basketball coach, and that's part of my service, and kids, and working with kids and family. And I'm like, oh, and so when you just said that, it really, really hit for me, because it's something that's been on my mind recently as to, what is it that I want to offer my services in? Well, like, what non-for-profit space do I want to offer? And you just said it so perfectly. So everybody listening, I mean, just really take this. It's so great. Is that you also have to receive pleasure from it. We forget that part of giving is because we receive pleasure from giving. And so we think it's just, well, I just want to give and give and give and give and give to everyone. And that's great. But eventually the well's going to go dry.
Yeah.
And that's what we call in the corporate space or in the business space, burnout. In the non-for-profit space, it's a dry well. It's like, well, I got nothing left to give. In the working world, it's burnout, right?
Yeah.
And you're speaking about it in both ways, in that, with service, you really have to get something back from it. Like, what enjoyment, what passion do you get back from this? I love that.
And everyone has a different passion. So don't beat yourself up if your passion's basketball, my passion's ice skating, that.
How to have fun anytime, anywhere. Step 1. Go to chumbacasino.com.
ChumbaCasino.com. Got it.
Step 2. Collect your welcome bonus.
Come to Papa welcome bonus.
Step 3. Play hundreds of casino-style games for free.
That's a lot of games. All for free?
Step 4. Unleash your excitement.
Woohoo!
Chumba Casino has been delivering thrills for over a decade. So claim your free welcome bonus now and live the Chumba life. Visit ChumbaCasino.com. VGW Group. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. See terms and conditions. 18+.
I should not go and teach basketball, and you probably don't want to, come skate. That's okay. I think you should skate, because skating's awesome, but
skating is cool. I've been on skates. Cool. It is very painful for my feet. I'm a skier, and that hurts my feet, but I love skiing. So, but yeah, you're 100% right. I love that you said that. And moving on to the business side of things, it's very similar. And again, another conversation I have with my coach, which is when you're doing, we know the old adage, right? Like when you do something you love, you never work a day in your life. Like, we get that. But speaking to it in today's modern age, right?
You have to work.
In the modern world, you got to work, people. But it's so true, right? Like, when you're really doing the work that you enjoy and love, it's like the money or the salary or the profit or any of it, it's really just a byproduct from this. Yes. And I just talked about the dry well, and it's the same thing with burnout, is that when you're working in a space where you're working so hard, it doesn't matter how much money is coming in. If you're not getting anything out of the business or out of what you're doing, that's where burnout, well, that's one of the parts of burnout. There's more to burnout than just what I'm speaking to here, everyone. But that's one of the parts of burnout, is that, you're just giving. And it doesn't matter how much money you get back. It's not the same return.
Right. And this is a very dangerous area. Statistically, for the oldest daughter in a family, she's the one that's going to be stuck taking mom and dad to their doctor's appointments. She's the one that's still maybe has kids and is stuck in the middle, trying to do everything backwards in high heels, and has those expectations of herself, and she's not going to ask for help, because I don't have time to ask for help.
So interesting that I brought up Topic to you and the cutting edge as my sister, and I said, and my sister would be remiss if I didn't say Topic, because the statistic is right. The whole time that you have been speaking to me about trusts and will and all this stuff that we've just been I'm asking you questions that I'm like, wait a second, my parents are getting up there, and guess who is 2 years older than me? My sister. And guess who's the one who does take them to? My sister. And so she is the one that I'm thinking about this whole time. I'm going, all right, I hope Marina Well knows how to do these things. Of course, my brother and I will support her in it all, but you're right. I'm interested in this statistic, if you have any more information around it, as to what is the reasoning for it? Because it's kind of weird when you think about, let's say, cultural traditions, in that usually the male, the eldest male in the family is the one that has all of this responsibility. But with what you're saying and what I see and what I experience is, you're right.
Right.
The older girl.
It's a caretaking.
Trait. That makes sense.
Caretaking trait, where,
She is a nurse.
I was going to say, or we could say that women are better multitaskers. And so they just know that's one more thing they have to take care of. But sadly, there's a recent study on this that showed, like I said, typically the oldest daughter, and they typically lose over $300,000 in lifetime earnings because of caring for parents, because they're missing work. Maybe they're missing out on promotions. They end up with lower salaries, so their Social Security is lower in the future.
Yeah, so it's got a dramatic effect. My mother, also the eldest daughter, there's a sibling above her, my uncle, who's older than her, but the eldest daughter was the one who was my grandmother's caretaker later on. And then going to my father's family, it's the same thing. My aunt was, like I said, the statistic is real in that. I mean, at least in my experience. So it's interesting, and I'm glad you brought up that number, because I think it brings shines a light, at least, on this situation, and where someone like you, the services that you offer, can maybe help this person. I know that for us, my grandmother lived with us, and I know for us it was really challenging. My grandmother and I are super close. I mean, we share the same birthday. I was her baby, and my daughter is named after her. And it was really difficult for my mother when we started to have the conversation. We had brought in caregivers and all the rest in the home, but when we started to have the conversation of having to let her go somewhere else, because it was a burden on my mother. It no longer became for the care of my grandmother. The conversation was no longer whether she's going to get good care or not. We knew where she was going. She was going to get great care, and we were going to go visit her regularly. It was more now like we had to save my mom, right?
Yeah.
And I think, we have the caregivers out there, and if you were part of an assisted living of some sort, or a nurses on wheels, we'd be talking about that space. But for you, it's from the financial side, because the other side to all of that people may not have seen, because they see the caring, right? They see changing the diapers, they see the move in the wheelchair, they see all of these things that happen for the elderly person, for the parent. What they don't see, and what I only recognize later on because it was shared with me later on, is the financial side. And I kind of want to go in there with you deeper, because that's what you do, right? Is the financial side of not just managing trust, but kind of organizing everything. Share with us a little bit what that looks like.
So some of that has to do with, it depends on what assets they have, because certain assets are taxed certain ways. So taxing becomes important. If you have high medical expenses, that could be a tax deduction. So sometimes if you have funds like in a retirement account, we want to spend down the retirement account against medical expenses, for example. If we have the opportunity to get to them ahead of time, we can plan, if you come up with a plan, what we'd rather work with people in their 40s and 50s. We don't like, somebody coming to us in their 80s,
Might be too late.
It might be
So
too late.
speak a little bit about the 40s and 50s.
So 40s and 50s, you're still working, but you've saved up some money. And now we talk about planning for the next 40 years, including planning for long-term care. And you may have developed assets in certain classes of assets, and you have your 401k or IRA from work. You have a house or two or rentals, or everyone's so many different ways. That's why it's a challenge. So we have to come up with a plan for that specific person. Then, depending on the state they live in, whether that state offers assistance for long-term care needs, and if the state does offer assistance, what type of clawback rules and asset rules do they have? California used to have an asset rule of you could have so many, you could have like $2,000 in assets. You basically had to get rid of everything before California would pay for anything. Well, they just changed it this year. Now it's based off of income. So if you have income sources that are flexible, meaning you can turn them on or off, you might now be able to change your income, preserve your assets, and still qualify for state aid. And the only way to kind of do all of that is to do deep dive planning, comprehensive planning. And something that might cause taxes on one side may be opposite of what you think you should do.
Okay.
Or the same that you think you should do. You'll do something thinking you're doing the right thing, but it's going to end up costing you more in taxes in the long run.
Right.
So working with somebody who is a financial professional and income tax professional is optimal.
Optimal, yeah. And, part of how we got onto this conversation about all of this is we were just talking about some of the transferable skills that you acquired over the years. And one of the other ones that you mentioned was communication, and seeing that when you worked for these big corporations, one department had all of this knowledge on something and wouldn't share it with this other department. And it's so funny because that's like literally what we're talking about here is that you have a team of people, you have in your firm, you have accounting, you have financial planning, you have estate planning, you have all these different aspects to it, legal and everything. And if you guys are siloed, like you said, well, then we're not doing the best for our client.
Right.
And so communication is so important in everything that you're saying here.
Yeah. And that's why I've structured it the way I've done here. There are other financial advisors out there, and I can do everything that financial advisor can do. There are other tax professionals out there, and I can do everything that tax professional can do. And in California, law has to be done by a lawyer. So my friend.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on chumbacasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at chumbacasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's chumbacasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
Who I met through figure skating.
Oh, that's awesome.
Rebecca Summer is a lawyer, and she is physically located here in our office. So she and I worked together to do a comprehensive plan. We know when we're done at the end of the day with that client, they are getting the optimal tax minimized income legacy that we can give for them.
That's awesome. I love that you met her through figure skating too. I think about it's so cool because there's so many relationships that are formed through our outside hobbies, and it's such a great thing to note right now in that how important hobbies are, because you just really never know who you're going to meet there. I mean, they got to have a job somewhere, right? Like, if you're in some sort of adult hobby group, they're doing some kind of work somewhere.
Yeah. Well, that was it. And then she and I traveled together to go to nationals. And so we had traveled well together. And then when we started talking, I'm like, wait, you're a lawyer. I'm a financial advisor. I need your services. Your people need my services. Wait a second. If we get together,
that's right.
How great is this going to be?
That's incredible.
And it really has been.
That's incredible. That's incredible. I want to speak about collaboration for a moment here, because that's what you're talking about in collaboration. And where do you feel like you learned that? Was that from your mentor? Where did you learn about this collaborating mindset?
My husband,
Okay.
like he and I just we in a sense we're opposites. So very much strengths and weaknesses. And we started dating when I was 17. And so we had, kind of a small business from the start, like when we first got together. So we had to figure out how to pay the bills, had to figure out how to, get the job done. And just, he had his skill set, I had my skill set, but there were crossovers, of course. And building trust, I guess that's another big word that we're going to dive into, finding the person you can trust that's got your back 100% of the time, is just invaluable.
I like how you talk about complementing skills. It's something that is so important in business and in life of having these. We tend to want to find people that are just like us, but they don't always help. They don't always help us. They're great. They're great for if you're at a cocktail party, it's great to find somebody that's like you, because like that short, quick conversation is going to go so quick and so easy. But in the long term, it's similar to me with my spouse, like my wife, Devin. Her and I are complete opposites, and we work so well together. I think it's also because we acknowledge that we're opposites.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Yes. Yeah. My assistant here, my right-hand person is opposite of me. Like every single thing, opposite. It's perfect.
Yeah, I think, and when you appreciate that, and that's where the collaboration really comes in, of like what you said with the attorney, with your friend, I drew a blank on her name. Rebecca. When you appreciate the qualities that they have that compensate for what you lack. I mean, you didn't need to go out get a law degree, right? So for what you lack.
No, not getting a law degree. Sorry, don't have time for that.
And you appreciate that she can bring this service to your clients. Well, that's where that collaboration happens. And I love that you had the mindset to just ask her. I think the other thing you mentioned just now, which is in trust, of you kind of cultivated a trust with her, one of having the commonality with the figure skating, but you just said it before. You said, we traveled together and we traveled well together.
Yeah, that when you're stuck in an airport for 12 hours with children, other people's children that you're responsible for, you really get to see everybody's personality and under stress and how they react to life and whether that works with you. And, that was really defining.
Yeah. It's interesting. There was a podcast that I listened to, and I don't want to say the wrong name, so I'm not going to say it. I'm just going to leave the name out, but it was the CEO of a publicly traded company. And he was speaking about he calls it the airport test. They were asking him, how do you, hire people? And he said, I have the airport test. And what is that? And it's, could I spend 3 hours in an airport terminal with this person? And he's like,
That's
because
great.
when you think about it, he's like, you think about it, you're taking business trips with probably the people in your department or your executive team or your leadership team, whatever it's called, in your industry or your company, and you're taking trips together. And there's no way that you're going to take trips and there's not going to be a delay or a cancellation or just, when we say 3 hours, that's actually, it's going on time, right?
Yeah. That's nothing.
That's nothing. So he said, it's the airport test. Is, can I spend 3 hours with this person in a terminal? And if I can't, then this isn't going to work out.
Oh, yeah.
So the
I
airport.
didn't know it was an official thing, but that's basically what we do.
Mine is the podcast test. If I can't interview the person for more than an hour and a half, no, I'm just kidding.
About football.
That's right, about football. And I don't know much about football. I know the Chiefs won this year, and I was rooting for them because I like Mahomes. But that's as much as I know about football. My wife teaches me the rest. It's I'm a basketball guy. I do want to get back to mentorship for a moment here because you met Cliff when you were just a young girl, just a little girl, just a little girl.
I was 15, 16. Yeah.
And so you met him and he took you under his wing, taught you taxes, you learned how to do it, you learned the business, you worked in the business, and then you went off to see the world and do all these other things. Later on, you came back 30 years later and he said, hey, the job's yours, right? Come on in. And you then started calling him your mentor. And 15 years later, you were able to earn enough and save enough to be able to purchase the business from him. I'd love for you to share this mentor-mentee relationship. The reason why I ask this is this has come up before with other people that I've met. And I think it comes up pretty often about how do I find a mentor? Or, I asked this person to be my mentor. And I have my thoughts on how to go about doing it and all the rest, but I'm really more interested in yours right now as to how did this relationship evolve into a mentorship?
I don't know.
That's wonderful because then it happened naturally, right?
Yeah.
Which is this is my tip for people is allow it to happen naturally. But please share more about that.
No, it's just funny because, he was brought up Midwest, old school. If you aren't sitting at your desk, you aren't working, which is not anything of today's work styles. Would say some things, that HR would have you. He would have been gone by any HR department anywhere. But he cared about his clients. He cared about his clients. And that's what I observed. And that's what I wanted to do. He was not looking, he was looking for clients to be clients. We call them clients. I almost want to call them family, but because like I said, we have people that we have been servicing them and their families for over 40 years. And seeing that care for people, genuine care, he genuinely cared that people, pay the least amount of taxes, and had the right financial service products, so that they didn't have to worry about running out of money.
Hello, it is Ryan, and we could all use an extra bright spot in our day, couldn't we? Just to make up for things like sitting in traffic, doing the dishes, counting your steps, all the mundane stuff. That is why I'm such a big fan of Chumba Casino. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere with daily bonuses. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com. That's ChumbaCasino.com.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus. Terms and conditions apply.
And
so there was.
I guess,
go ahead.
just seeing that was just, you know, that the philosophy, of the caring for the people, the clients, just lined up with me, made sense to me. If we take care of our clients will take care of us.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so he never really even knew that he was a mentor to you. He wouldn't really know it.
Yeah, I mean, eventually, well, in the last few years, yes, but it was never. It wasn't like, I'm your mentor. You
right.
need to. He was, yeah, you need to. Well, he used to say, "Well, you're never gonna. You need to be a businesswoman. You need to think like a businesswoman."
And those things stuck with you, and it goes to what I was saying, and I think, and you answered it so perfectly in that you said, "Well, I don't know how it started." And it's, somebody had asked me recently, he goes, I asked this guy to be my mentor and he said no to me. I'm making a long story short there. And I said, yeah, of course he did. And he went, what do you mean? Why? And I said, well, first of all, you're putting a lot of responsibility on somebody to be a mentor to you. I said, and secondly, what if you just thought about it as an exchange of ideas and information, which is what you just shared. Is imagine if you just called this person up and maybe like you did with Cliff and just said, hey, what should I do here? And then they told you what you should do there. And then you did it. And then when you did it, you followed up with them and said, hey, I did that thing that you said I should do and it worked out. Or I did that thing that you told me I should do and it didn't work out. What do you think I should do next? And you start having this dialogue with each other to where you don't need to say you're my mentor and I'm your mentee. There's none of that. There's just an exchange of ideas and information. And as you said, feelings that come about. And it happens naturally. When I shared that with that person, he was just like, oh, that's cool. I like that. So I said, yeah, man. I mean, I had to learn it too. I remember I called up the CEO one day and I said, hey, I'd love for you to be my mentor. And he goes, what does that mean? And I said, I don't know, but I really would love for you to be my mentor. It was somebody gave me the idea, and anyway, that didn't work out apparently, obviously, as we can tell for obvious reasons. But it works out when it does the way that you did it, which is this like organic allowing of ideas. I like how you also said he cared for people. Share a little bit more about that. You did already, by the way, so don't feel like you didn't share enough. But I would just like to go into that because I think in businesses and in selling of services, sometimes the care is lost because we think so much about the service and we think so much about do right for the customer and all that. But I love when you talk about their family to us and you talk about caring for.
Because
go ahead.
We're seeing the same people that come in to do their taxes, and they come in and it's, they just have their one little W-2 and then they get married and then you find out about them getting married and then then they come in with their kids or tax write-offs that, make us happy. Because
it speaks to the passion that you were talking about earlier is why I brought it back up, is that you were saying about doing something you love, you almost do it for free. And when you care, when you truly care, right? Remove expectations and you truly care about your clients, it becomes fun.
Yeah. Because I talk to a lot of people. A lot of people become clients and follow our suggestions, but not everyone does. And it breaks my heart a little because, we've told them what to do and they're like, no. I'm going to do the opposite because I saw some guy on TV say something. And it's like, I can't lose sleep over them. I have to let it go and help the people that I can help.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you know what? And just to tie it right back to that mentor-mentee relationship, it's the same thing as, you can only, like you said, you could only help the people that are willing to be helped. And that's kind of how that relationship works too is, if you want somebody to be your mentor, if you're listening to their advice but not taking it, well, that relationship's going to die off pretty quick because that mentor is going to be exhausted of
Yeah.
kind of speaking into an empty can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Eventually they want to see it fill up. There's so much about that. I want to speak a little bit about leadership and how you bring leadership into your organization. You rose through the ranks from, again, being the tax girl all the way up to COO of the organization and president of the organization and acquiring the organization. So you rose through the ranks. You put in your time and work. You were working different hours when you were obviously starting out to where you are today. And when I asked you about your leadership style, you said to you, it's an opportunity to share what you know. And I love this word, uplift others with that work.
Yeah. That I just, my goal is to constantly replace me. My goal is to take every bit of knowledge I can come up with in my head and share that with the next mini me.
Mm-hmm.
And that was actually, that also kind of ties back to my mentor, Cliff. The team would call me Cliff Jr. And my right-hand person right now is being called Susan Jr. And it truly is, especially I feel like in financial, in the work we're doing in the financial service space here, there are insurance salespeople out there. There's people who've been taught how to sell stuff, but you can't know what to sell. You can't know what to do until you've had some experiences. Or, we make decisions based off of years of experiences. That's the trust. I did my parents' trust once. That was one trust experience. Since then, I've helped hundreds of other people with their parents' trusts. So now I've done hundreds of trusts and have all those different experiences to share. And that informs the next decision.
Yeah.
It makes the next decision of what to do for the next person stronger, better, more correct.
And more capable. I'd also like to speak about the idea of uplifting and leadership. It's interesting because I think, I asked a group, I did a speech the other day and asked a group, how do you define leadership? And the one that stood out to me that I want to bring in contrast to uplift is followers. As someone said, well, they have followers. People follow them and, listen to them. And they meant it in a good way. They meant it in a sense of like, they have an influence over others, which leaders do, right? Leaders have an influence and people follow leaders. But the part that I felt that was left out in that commentary was the side of followers who they uplift, followers who they enrich in their lives and make their lives better. And so I'm interested in that definition for you of uplift their lives.
Yeah. Yeah, I just want my team to, continue what we're doing for our clients. And that is, if they don't know my thought process, if, they're getting the same education that I've had, but giving them opportunity to see real world experiences, real world planning, and seeing the outcomes is absolutely critical. You've got to just, bring them along. I guess some people think of people as underlings or, And it's just like, it's just the team. We're one team.
Ryan Seacrest here. When you have a busy schedule, it's important to maximize your downtime. One of the best ways to do that is by going to ChumbaCasino.com. Chumba Casino has all your favorite social casino games like spin slots, bingo, and solitaire that you can play for free for a chance to redeem some serious prizes. So hop on to ChumbaCasino.com now and live the Chumba life. Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply.
And supporting them throughout the process. And I think that that's part of the whole thing of what you're sharing here is that you are the leader of the organization and they are following your lead. With what you said, and I really like it, is that you're giving them, as the leader, you're not doing all the heavy lifting. You have this team. You're giving them all an opportunity to learn and to grow and to gain their own experiences, as you said before. And you put so much emphasis in the experience, and it's huge, right? Because you're 100% right. Doing one trust, going to somebody who's only done one trust in their life and going to somebody who's done 1,000 trusts in their experience, you're like, it's a no-brainer who I'm going to, right? It really is a no-brainer. I mean, you know, the person who did one might say, hey, I'll do it for free for you in my spare time. But you know what you're going to get out of that, right?
Yeah.
You know exactly what you're going to get out of that. And so by being a leader, it's giving those opportunities to your team to where they can truly be your team, as you said, right? Because they're not just your followers anymore. They become equal with you. You're there as the leader pushing it forward and helping them. And I think that that's the other part to it is being that support system for them, right? To where you've done hundreds of trusts, but maybe the person you're handing the paperwork off to has only done 20. Well, they've done 120 because you're behind them.
Right. Because like my personal experience is losing my parents and losing my husband. My current assistant's personal experience is hands-on daily care of a grandmother with Alzheimer's. Now, all those, I don't have that experience, but they do. So who knows more?
Right. And you're learning too.
I'm learning too.
Yeah. And it's really a great loop. I find leadership, as the more I dig into it, the more I learn about it, the more we all become leaders in our lives, the more we learn that leadership is about growth. And it's about learning. It's about learning new skills, new things. And it's not just learning from other leaders. It's learning from your team. It's learning from the people who you are teaching and you are leading, learning from them. And it's a really great experience. I love that you shared that with us. And as we start to conclude, one of the things that I always like to know about somebody is their mantra of like, you know, what's the thing that moves you, that drives you as you continue going along. And for you, it was, and you've said it so many times already in our episode, so it's not new to you, right? It's sometimes not getting what you want is a wonderful blessing.
Yep. If I had gotten everything I wanted or thought I wanted in life, I'd probably be miserable. Most of the spectacular things and opportunities I've had have come from the weirdest, strangest places and the last place you would think.
Yeah.
So, yeah, not getting what you want is a wonderful blessing.
It really is. It opens your eyes to new opportunities. You learn so much from it all. And I'm reading a book right now by Adam Grant, Hidden Potential. And it just speaks to when things are hard, you learn and grow the most from them. You learn and grow the most from them. So I love that you said that sometimes not getting what you want is a wonderful blessing. And man, you've really gone through some tremendous experiences, and I commend you for really working through them all. It's amazing.
You don't have a choice.
That's right. Well, you know what? I'll say this to that, because it's been said to me, and I think you'll appreciate it too. Is you do have a choice, right?
I guess you do.
And the people, and if you are one of these people that are listening right now, which more than likely you're not, because you wouldn't be turning on this kind of podcast if you are one of these kind of people, but the people who meet these challenges that you had to overcome, that I've had to overcome, and cower in a corner and go, woe is me, and give up on everything, give up on their dreams, give up on their work, give up on the people around them. That's a choice.
Yeah.
That's a choice. And I hope that if you are one of those people listening, listen, I'm here for you. I know Susan's there for you. Just give us a ring, reach out to us, and we'll be more than happy to help you out of that spot. But that's a choice that you're making. And so that's why I do commend you for the choice that you made to be resilient and to look for new ways to be able to learn and grow in the financial ways because of your parents and become a star figure skater, which I hope you have a YouTube channel because I would love to see you on skate. Oh my goodness, you're going to so share that with us because I would love to see it. I would love to see you skating. I think it's so cool. You're in California, I'm in New York, and we're not far from Lake Placid, which is where, was it the 88 Olympics? What was it? The 90? Whatever it was. And so we've gone to the rink there and seen, and skated on it and all the rest. So it is really cool. And I grew up with my grandmother in my home, which I had mentioned earlier. She absolutely loved figure skating during the Olympics. And so I grew up watching figure skating and knowing the figure skaters of our day. Yep. So that's a great start.
We just got to get you on the ice one of these days. I'll come to New York and take you skating.
I love it. I would love for you to share with all of our listeners, of course, this will all be in the show notes, how people can reach out to you. How can they learn more about your programs?
Probably the easiest way, of course, is go to the website. The name of the company is Slayton Wealth Management, and that's spelled SLATEN and then Wealth Management. SlaytonWealth.com is the website. There's scroll about halfway down the page. There's a place to sign up for our monthly newsletter that has great information, tricks and tips. And that's awesome. That'll keep you up to date on whatever we're up to, whatever trouble we're up to.
I love newsletters. I really do. And here's why. Because they end up in like my promotions folder. And so I don't see them. So this is why I'm saying this intentionally for everybody listening, is that like sign up for the newsletter because you could put them in a folder to where you don't really see them, but then when you need them, they're there. And that's what I love about them. And I love that you said that yours is like tips and tricks and ideas. And in this whole podcast, we've learned so much from you, so we could only learn so much more from your newsletter. So I love that you offer that. I think it's a great service when you're sharing those kinds of things. So thank you so much for coming on today. It's been awesome.
Thank you. You take care.
Thank you for listening to the Michael Esposito Show. For show notes, video clips, and more episodes, go to michaelespositoinc.com/podcast. Thank you again to our sponsor, Den 10 Insurance Services, helping businesses get the right insurance for all their insurance needs. Visit den10.io to get a quote. That's DENTEN.io. And remember, when you buy an insurance policy from Den 10, you're giving back on a global scale. This episode was produced by Uncle Mike at the iHeart Studios in Poughkeepsie. Special thanks to Lara Rodrian for the opportunity and my team at Michael Esposito, Inc.
Hello, it is Ryan, and I was on a flight the other day playing one of my favorite social spin slot games on ChumbaCasino.com. I looked over at the person sitting next to me, and you know what they were doing? They were also playing Chumba Casino. Everybody's loving having fun with it. Chumba Casino is home to hundreds of casino-style games that you can play for free anytime, anywhere. So sign up now at ChumbaCasino.com to claim your free welcome bonus. That's ChumbaCasino.com and live the Chumba life.
Sponsored by Chumba Casino. No purchase necessary. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply.